Hey YouTube, this is a mostly unedited video, and in this video I hope to talk to you academically, like a colleague. I've been doing some research on gesso for paintings, and the reason why I'm doing so is because I have a problem. Acrylic-based gessos aren't that old, and they have already proven to not be archival, which means that they won't last very long. Not that acrylic paintings will not last long, but oil paintings over acrylic bases will not last long. And the reason being is because the acrylic polymer that makes up gesso doesn't chemically bond to oil. And I've been doing a lot of research, and the reason for that is because acrylic polymer, although it is a glue, it is some sort of adhesive. It's made out of, it's pretty much plastic. It's a binder, but it lacks a protein. We haven't yet been able to make a adhesive that is protein based. So think about it like in cooking. Like you cook, you use cake. Well, you use cake. You use protein like egg or banana in a cake, and that creates a binder. It needs some, like, chemicals need something to hold on to, and oil paints, chemically how they are, do not hold on to acrylic polymer. So that's my dilemma. And when I'm getting close to my solution, what you can do is you can buy rabbit skin glue, and that has proven to be very archival. If you do it right, that your painting will last for a century. However, it has dropped out of popularity and has become expensive. And I haven't done it yet, but there's like a process to it, and that's why acrylic polymer is so accepted, is because it's so fast. Like, you can just dip into the bucket and throw it on. But with rabbit skin glue, you have to boil it, and then you have to, it's just like a couple of extra steps. However, I'm willing to go through a few extra steps in order to have my paintings be archival. Okay, I'm trying to wrap my thoughts around this. I did a lot of research, I looked up a lot of stuff, and I did some experiments, and I want to show you the results of my experiments. That's what this video is about. I read an article about, there's this stuff called Casein Glue, or Casein, something, I'll spell it somewhere. And it's a protein-based glue that used to be in circulation, like in Elmer's glue. However, now those are synthetic and they lack a protein. Again, we haven't created an adhesive that has a protein in it. So, there are only a couple of things you can do. That you only have a couple of proteins, like protein adhesives, that you can choose from, and you can choose from, like, it's animal based. Like, these glues are animal based, and that's where rabbit skin glue comes in. It's made from skin and tendons and organic materials that have proteins in them that create natural binders within your body. Well, there's this other stuff called casein that is made from milk, and I've been looking that up, and casein, which I'm going to call it, is very similar to gelatin. It is binding, has a protein in it, and the only thing is I'm still doing some research about like whether or not it's archival. But I did look up this article, and there's this painting, this Impressionist painting. It's from the 1500s, and it's super old, and there's no cracking in it. Now there could be a lot of reasons for that. He could have properly applied, the artist could have properly applied the, you know, like correct drying layers onto an oil paint, oil painting, but there's no flaking. The painting looks great, and the museum that owns the painting is shocked at how well it's being held up. So I made this stuff right here, and right now I'm freeze drying it. This is 1/2 of a batch that I made. This is freeze drying, and I also have this same stuff, but it's further along in the process, and it's really dry, and I ground it up into a powder. I used my mortar and pestle. I wish I had it around here. Oh, it's right here. Yeah, I used this thing, ground it up, put it through a blender, and ideally you would push it through a fine mesh screen. You should. The one thing I have is in my book. You need to put it through like a 425 screen for like proper gesso. But it was talking about soy gesso. That's another thing. Is there's like this soy gesso that they're trying to make, but no one really is producing it commercially, and that's kind of annoying. But I took this stuff and I boiled it, which you're supposed to use it right after you make it and when it's fresh. But I'm trying to freeze dry it and trying to be able to just throw it in some water and have it dissolve and make the glue. But the other problem is that I need a filler, so it can be cheaper, yet still like work. But the problem is that proper gesso needs to be pH neutral, so it doesn't dissolve any organic materials that I'm putting it on. And I got lazy, and I didn't really, I wanted to see how it adhered, so I only used this plaster of Paris, which is calcium sulfate and calcium carbonate, and I looked that stuff up, and it's only pH neutral if you slake it first, which is actually what they used in the Renaissance, and up they would slake the powder, or slake the plaster, which would make it close to pH neutral, and is pretty much just washing it out over and over again. And we have very good calcium carbonate, calcium sulfate, plaster of Paris right now. It's very fine and very like pure, but it's still not pH neutral. Well, I poured it into this stuff, the Casein Glue, or it's very similar to milk paint, and I put that in there, and I put some sodium bicarbonate, baking soda in there to neutral out the acidity. But this stuff didn't work. I would have to slake it first, but I still don't want to do that. I want to find something else, which I found. I was talking to my colleague, and he was telling me about rice flour actually being able to work for that. So I'm gonna buy that. That's gonna be my next experiment. But I'm trying to dry these out right now, freeze dry them. They've been in the freezer. This stuff has been in the freezer, and it's very dry, for almost a month now. Here, let me show you how sticky this stuff is. I have, for my experiments, I got 2 little things of glue, and I tried to put them together, and it's crazy how it works like as well as wood glue. It's really strong, and Another thing is I kept it in a container, and just in a couple of days it went bad. I think the reason for that would be I also didn't wash out my this powder. I'll put all the links in the description. I'll put all my research links into the description. But I made this stuff, which there's a recipe online. There's some lady who makes it, and then there's a couple of recipes online, but they're all like slightly different. But it's pretty much milk and vinegar, mix it together, separates the whey, and then you just take that, put it through a fine mesh strainer or like some cheesecloth, and then you wash it, and then you just throw it in. But I'll put that. I don't need to talk about that right now. The video is kind of getting long. But very, very, very strong adhesive and protein based, which is exactly what I want. However, because I didn't slake the plaster of Paris, because slake plaster of Paris is a lot more malleable, but I didn't, and I wanted to see what would happen, and so I put it on canvas, and it cracks. It's very, very prone to cracking, and I think that might just be because of the plaster of Paris. So I'm probably going to try to make this stuff by itself. I also put it on some wood, but yeah, so failure on canvas. It does not work on canvas. Like, I think you can hear that. It's, you know, that's not going to last. But I did put it on wood, and I got this good layer on it, and I put a little bit of oil paint on it, and it went on pretty well. Like, there's no, it's very dry. The other thing is I was worried, like, oh, like, is it going to stink? Like, you know, because I put it in the little container that I threw out. I didn't even want to open it. It was so bad. But I put it on here, and I smell it, and it doesn't smell like anything, so that's good, because you know, it being organic based and protein based, it is prone to insects, so I need it to be like really, really clean. You know, anything that would eat or look at it as food. Then I put like this big glob right here, and that was just not very well mixed up, and I put a board on there, and I ripped it off, and it was still wet, and yeah, last time I checked, it smells a little bad, and you know, that could be, it wasn't fully cooked, and it was, you stopped recording, sorry about that. So, it needs to be very well mixed. That's why it needs to go through a 425 strainer, ideally, which is very, that's very, very, very thin. It would be like dust particles in the air. The other thing is, I wanted to show you, like, I put it on these canvases, and there's some cracking here, and I didn't even notice that, and it doesn't smell either. And I put it over acrylic. That was the experiment. I just put it over acrylic, so it would adhere to the acrylic, but also chemically combined with the oil paints. I painted this luchador, and most of them is okay, but like right here it's cracking, and there's some other cracking, but it went on well. It didn't really it reacted very well with the paint, and it feels good, but because of the unslaked plaster, it's definitely going to crack over time. So what I'm doing here is, apparently you can't just have it out on the counter and then just reuse it. So I'm freeze drying it, and I'll keep you updated on this Casein Gesso I'm trying to make, for the purpose of my paintings being archival. And I'll post all the links down in the description. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but I guess that's it. I guess I covered everything. This is going to get long, and this is going to be mostly unedited, but yeah, so thank you, YouTube. Like, I just wanted to talk to you about this, and I'm excited for it, and I feel like, you know, you could really do something with this, and I think that, like, if I was successful with this, I think it would be a pretty big deal, and it just definitely has to have a lot more experiments. So yeah, I just wanted to talk to you guys about that, let you in on what I'm doing right now. And I don't know, that's it. I'll keep you updated. I'll try. So yeah, thanks YouTube, and I'll see you later.